thank you everyone for coming. My name's Beth Kelly and I'm one of the DSNs that run the DSN Forum. Unfortunately, we've got a couple of us missing tonight, haven't we, Tamsin, because Amanda is poorly and Vicky is on mummy duty, so she can't make it, unfortunately. But we do have us two. I'll get Tamsin to introduce herself in a second. We've also got representatives from the companies that are sponsoring us tonight. So thank you so much to, we've got Fiona from Air Liquide, Sam from Abbott, and we've also got Advanced Therapeutics supporting us as well. We're just waiting for them to arrive, but big thank you to those companies because we couldn't run these kinds of things without your guys' support, so thank you. And we've also got Prof Partha and Dr. Fuyla Mehta from, well, I'll let you introduce yourselves. Should we go to you first? If we go to Fuyla, do you want to say a bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Fuyla Mehta. I'm a paediatrician based in Liverpool, looking after children and young people with diabetes. And I'm the clinical lead for the Children and Young Adults Diabetes Programme at NHS England.
Amazing. We're very excited. We've been waiting to meet you for a long time, haven't we, Tamsin? So we're excited. Thank you for coming. Partha, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Partha, type 1 diabetes lead, and leading on this piece of work, along with Fuyla from NHS England.
Amazing. And Sam, do you want to go first and introduce yourself as well?
Sure, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for including us tonight. We are super excited to be part of this. It's an amazing milestone for people with diabetes, and we're very proud that we can be involved in some small way. So really looking forward to this evening and understanding the questions and the thoughts and views for tonight. Thank you.
You. Oh, we have got Karen here from Advanced Therapeutics, so that's great. Can see you in the corner. Fiona, do you want to say who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Fiona Kilsby. My official title is Commercial Operations Manager for Air Liquide, and we are the very proud distributors of the T-Slim with Control IQ insulin pump in the UK. So like Sam, I feel as if we've been talking about this for months, and very excited to be able to go on this journey with both the NHS and individuals with type 1 diabetes. Looking forward to the webinar. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Karen, do you want, I don't know if you can come on off camera, but you're welcome to introduce yourself and say a little bit.
Hi, I'm Karen from Advanced Therapeutics. I'm the hybrid closed loop manager, looking after all the hybrid closed loop parts of the business. We're really excited about actually getting hybrid closed loop into the hands of people with diabetes. I've done quite a lot of work at the moment in the north with people with learning difficulties, people who don't speak English as a first language. So we're just really excited to get this technology that can change lives into people's hands.
Amazing, yeah. So hopefully we'll talk a lot about that tonight and where we can go. Tamsin, do you want to introduce yourself too, last but not least?
Sure. So my name is Tamsin Fletcher-Salt, and like Beth said, I'm one of the DSN Forum members. I'm also the lead DSN at the Royal State University Hospital.
Perfect. So I guess we've got quite a few people on the call already. So in case you missed it, if you do have any questions for anyone tonight, do pop them in the question and answer box along the bottom. We will try and get to as many questions as we possibly can. And last week it was going crazy. So do pop them in. We'll try and answer as many as we can if you have any questions. So I guess first off, we will come to Partha to kind of explain what the hybrid closed loop TA is for those that don't know. Is it available for people right now? There was a lot of things over the weekend about I've gone and asked my team for it and I was told no. So just a brief kind of description about what a draft is and all that kind of stuff would be amazing.
Yeah, so I think I'll start by saying, first of all, thank you to our industry partners, not just who are here today, thank you for that, but anybody who's been part of this journey. And then I'm, of course, going to say amazing DSN Forum team. So I think, you do it in your time, you've done this amazing piece of work, and you continue to work with us in NHS England. You've got such a captive audience, so we're very grateful for this forum and this opportunity this provides. And in fact, those who are listening, if you've got something really interesting and stuff you want to tell people, these are the people you need to speak to. They will engage with you more than you can engage with via your usual forums. Beyond that, I think, what is the hybrid closed loop? So going back in time, we had lots of discussions, lots of data. It was started piece of work. Then we had the pilots around the country, 35 centers, 26, 27 adult centers, and 6, 7, 8, something like that, pediatric centers. About 900 patients in total. We collected lots of data thanks to the Diabetes Technology Network and work done by Fuyla, May, all these people from the pediatric side, Fiona. And we collected data. It showed it worked. We were very happy. We went to NICE, then did the further review and came back with the first draft, which was published in January of this year. And it basically said everybody with an HbA1c above 8%, which was an improvement in 8.5, but didn't make any age differentiation, lots of pushback, lots of further debates, lots of further discussions. And then finally, we have the next draft, which basically has come out as it is, which is anybody below the age of 18 gets it for having type 1 diabetes. Above the age of 18, it's for people with an HbA1c more than 7.5%, people having disabling hypos, and women who are trying for pregnancy as well as pregnant. So quite a wide one as things stand. And then after that, NICE basically said to us, well, that's the criteria. Can you go back to industry and tell us you can get a cost-effective price? And industry have been amazing. We have had lots and lots of good conversations, and I must acknowledge the work that has come from their end. So we went back with a positive answer, saying, yes, we do. Because without that positive answer, we wouldn't have it published. It's come out now. It's in the public domain. And as you have seen it, maybe it's out there, and it's out in what we call the final phase of any legal challenges anybody wants to sort of make. So I think the last date for that is tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, soon, isn't it? Because I remember thinking
tonight or tomorrow. And if, hey, listen, nobody challenges it, then we should be able to get something out of the next couple of weeks, and then it's set in stone, and then it's up to me and Fuyla the little job of trying to get it to people's lives. So that's where we are at the present moment. But I'm going to answer one thing, because this will come up. And it's already been one of the things, because people will say, you just pick criteria. Okay, so first things first, there is no criteria for your child. In adults, there are certain criteria. In adults, this covers about 65% of all adults. I think it's very important to make that. If you then add in the pregnancy and the disabling hypos, you're talking about nearly 68 to 70% of all adults are covered. Then the question becomes, what about the rest 30%? That's exactly why we will go back to NICE, hopefully in 2 years or so, and ask them for a review to include everybody else, and we'll see where we get to. If for argument's sake, and this is the thing I want like everybody to take away, if for argument's sake, we did get it for everybody right now, let's say everybody, I can assure you, because of the system pressures we are under, we will not get to you if your HbA1c is less than 7.5% for another 2-3 years. We cannot deliver this by keeling over our workforce. So there is that. So bear with us, and I'll finish with this, that please don't forget where we were with Libra in 2018. There's criteria which was only 20% of people eligible. It's taken us, what, 4 years to get it to everybody? And we'll get it there with this one as well. So that's the story on that one.
Yeah, interesting. So it's a draft, NICE guidance. We're waiting. We've still got a little bit of legal challenge to go through. Hopefully that'll be done soon. But as it stands at the moment, we can't. People can't go and ask for a hybrid closed loop because of the TA yet, can they? So there will be blocks put in place still at present. So that's good. Yeah, there was a lot of talk on social media at the weekend about I've been and asked for it and I've been told no, and it's like trying to get that across. And that we're still not at a place where we're ready to completely go with it yet, are we? So one of the main parts so somebody asked about, is there going to be an expectation for healthcare professionals to gain appropriate recognised qualification and training in how to use hybrid closed loops? And I suppose that'd be great to ask Fuyla, actually, as in how have paediatric DSNs managed to all become because they are pretty much, talking as an adult clinician, it seems to me like pediatric DSNs are on it like that, whereas in the adult teams there's usually been a pump nurse that's kind of kept it as their kind of sort of speciality, don't you think, Tamsin? Whereas in peds it seems like it's, everyone's kind of trained up. So is that something that in pediatrics you focused on with your DSNs, or is it just because most children are using pumps and stuff anyway, or what do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Beth. I think it's important to remember that if you're working in paediatric diabetes, the vast majority of children and young people you're looking after will have type 1. And it's just essential to be skilled up in technology, and probably if you're in the world of paediatric type 1 diabetes and you're not skilled up in technology, then that's just not right now in this day and age. So I think for paediatric units, generally we've got over 40% of children and young people on pumps already. We've got really high CGM use. So I think we're in a really good place in paediatrics, and we're very keen that all units and all DSNs and clinicians are really highly skilled in technology going forwards. There's lots of support in place as well. We've got a really strong Children and Young People's Diabetes network, and we had a really successful hybrid closed loop education day recently. And there's plans for more education and training for healthcare professionals. And as part of that, along with the network as well, there's always opportunities for multidisciplinary teams to sort of skill up and get that sort of healthcare professional peer support as well. So what I would say is it's something that we have really been focusing on over the last few years. And, you know, whilst there will be some challenges, and there will be some units who are not quite as confident with technology, or perhaps they've got much smaller numbers of children and young people on technology, I fully anticipate over the coming years that the paediatric workforce will be ready for this and actually really keen. I think that's the other thing, the sense that we get from our paediatric units is that they feel that this is absolutely the way forward, and they're really keen to start being able to offer this to everybody.
Yeah, I think the problem which is coming out from a lot of adult clinicians, and someone said is that, and as you've said, pediatric DSNs deal with type 1, and adult DSNs have huge amounts of different types and lots of other things that we deal with as well. So it's kind of trying to work out pumps, and type 1 is a tiny part of our work compared to type 2 and MODY, genetic, and you know, all the other really complex clinics we end up going to attend, pregnancy, etc. So I think that is a worry. Partha, is there going to be something that comes out from NHS England about DSNs doing certain training, or is it not really going to be?
I mean, look, we got the academy. I think I like it. I think it's a really good program done by Alistair, Pratik, Emma, and the crew. I think that's really good. I would encourage everybody to do that. Plus, I suspect industry colleagues would also be coming around with education. So we are certainly not going to mandate that you must do this, but I think there'll be an expectation that you know what you're doing, right? So there's two ways of looking at it. You can either say, hey, listen, if you're already doing lots of pumps, surely you know what a closed loop's going to be. And I think that's going back to what Fuyla mentioned, that's the difference we have, because we don't have every center at the same level with pumps. Billions of reasons for it, which we have rehearsed in the past. So the question then becomes, do we start with other people who are more trained while the others take time to train up, and thereby there will be a gap as you begin. But that's just the past catching up with us, so to speak. And we've seen that with Libra, right? Some areas just went like a train, some areas followed. So there'll be a little bit of this and that as you go along. But I expect, I want all centers to provide closed loop. Part of it is training, part of it is workforce and all that. So yeah. We would like it. I mean, as I said, the academy for me is good enough to learn from there, I would say.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, having been in that position myself and learning it is quite nice to be hands-on with pump. Like having an academy is great, but you need that kind of using it every day, clicking the buttons. So you go in, I don't know how to do this, and you have to go and find the answer.
So one of the examples that recently I was talking to the guys in the Hampshire Isle of Wight. We've got 4 big centres, and I think there's different levels of expertise. So the people who've got more what we want is somebody to send some of their people across when we're doing the starts, sit down, get hands-on experience, then go back. And I think that's what needs to happen within regions, that you sort of buddy up with other people. It's not just sitting and reading it on a computer screen. We want people to come along. So, for example, we know we've got Isle of Wight close to Southampton, we've got Hampshire, we've got other hospitals. So we're going to do that. So, okay, who wants to go to each other to learn and come around while we're doing our starts? So I think there's going to be, that's the exciting bit, I suspect, as you go along. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be quite nice to go out for a day trip, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Down the road.
I think the apps are really useful as well, isn't there? A lot of the pump companies have produced like an app that you can have on your phone, and I know that I definitely have pretty much all of them on my phone, so that when I'm speaking to somebody on the phone to give them advice, I can actually follow through the process kind of with them to, you know, make a change or something like that. So I think, you know, for people that are learning new pumps, maybe they're getting new pumps on their system, because obviously there's a few now, isn't there, that all do hybrid closed loop, that they can actually download these apps and actually utilize them on their phones and see actually how to make changes and what it looks like and all of that sort of stuff. So not only doing the academy training, but actually having the hands-on experience of using it on their phones and seeing what it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. A big question, there's a lot of HCPs on tonight. Someone said, how do we anticipate this is going to be funded without an increase in budget? Are we going to be receiving some stratified guidance about who goes first and who we prioritise, groups like that? Because it's going to be really difficult to manage logistics with these, as you said, 65% of the type 1 population, which feels like a bit of a tidal wave, I will say, coming over us. Yeah.
Brilliant. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how pediatrics is managing it? Or at least the plan is roughly.
Yeah. So I suppose the general principles, so working with colleagues, experts in the area, the general principles that we would sort of suggest working towards is, you know, we certainly know the younger ones, the younger children, benefit hugely from hybrid closed loop systems. And so there's certainly an argument for prioritising the very young children. And then the second principle really is around those who will benefit the most as well, which I think is really important. And I think one of the things that when it has just come to standalone pump therapy, we've sometimes been a bit reluctant to get young people on pumps with high HbA1c, you know, where there's other issues. But I think those centres who have now got lots of experience in hybrid closed loop, we've just seen the absolutely massive benefits for those young people. So I think it's important that we think around where we're going to get the greatest benefits. But I think one of the key things to say is that it's still going to be really important that teams are, you know, using their clinical decision making. So it's not going to be a case of us saying you must do this, this and this. So, you know, we can provide some general guidance on how to roll things out, but I think every centre is going to have a sense of you know, what their own clinical priorities need to be. And probably the final thing I would say as well is centres who are perhaps not so confident with hybrid closed loop, whilst obviously we've got a really strong inequalities agenda, and you know, we really want to make sure that we're not widening health inequalities with this rollout. I think if it's a centre and healthcare professionals who are just starting to gain their confidence with hybrid closed loop, I think it's perfectly reasonable to start off with patients, you know, children, young people who are already on pumps, on sensors, you know, relatively confident with the technology, and then upgrade to hybrid closed loop while the team scales up. But then being very mindful of what that rollout's going to look like for the whole patient cohort, you know, so that we're mindful of, you know, not sort of widening that gap.
I tell you what, am I on? Yes, I tell you what, why don't I take some questions right now, quickly, right? I'll do my usual run through the questions, right? And then, so at least we clear off some. So, yeah. Barbara Kidd says, mainly targeted to children and young people. What about the rest of us who have type 1 diabetes? So children and young people will be targeted in the pediatric centers. Adult teams will target adults. And I think that's irrelevant of your age. So that's not an age sliding scale in the adult centers. Adults look from 18 to 99 or more. So if your team, if you're in the criteria, you will get it at par with everybody else. Now, and the question then becomes, what are the priorities within the adult teams? There are many ways of looking at it. We are looking at, for example, our specialist society is giving us some steer. But from my personal view, you could start with women who are trying for pregnancy. You could look at people with a higher A1C. You could look at people who are on a pump. I am quite sort of relaxed about what centers want to do, because they might decide in their cohort they have got more people who have got higher A1C and a higher in the older age group. That's where they want to target. A lot of it depends as to what your local center feels they have the workforce to do as well. So there is that balance. It's not like you'll be left behind. I can assure you that. That's for you. Stephanie Hussey. Hi, Stephanie. Yeah, absolutely. They don't deal with pregnancy or inpatients. And that's the thing that we said. It's a very different cohort of people, which fully acknowledges, and that's thereby lies our challenge. If you're already on a partial closed loop over 18, HbA1c, can you move to hybrid closed loop? Oh, yes, you got a good chance, I would say. So it's worthwhile having those conversations with your team. Why have a nice user criteria of time in range? Because most studies that are available still don't use time in range as your modulator. Hopefully that will change in the future. Are you able to expand the disabling? Yes, it's as per the NICE guideline, very straightforward definition. If you look on the NICE website, it defines what disabling hypos are. Alexandra Ward, this is the Alexandra Ward, inspirational consultant. Alex, yeah, Alex, basically the idea is to get everything. So we are in negotiations. We feel quite confident. We've had really good responses. So the idea would be everything, hopefully, fingers crossed. So we shall find out very soon. Pregnancy guidelines, request HCPs have qualification in CGM. Yeah, I mean, that's what about doing the academy and everything is. So it's very much about, are you doing a nationally approved program? That is the academy, which is linked to Gluco. It's free. So I would suggest you do that. If already on a pump, will some have to wait until the warranty ends before they upgrade to HCl? Depends on the pump. So if you are, for example, on a pump which does upgrade within, you might have a chance. I would definitely wait till the guidelines come out. And that's a conversation we're going to have with the companies as well as everybody concerned to see what we can do for people already on pumps. My colleagues, the diabetes midwives, more motivated, but do not have access to a pump nurse like Stephanie has her own. Need to evidence for saving that we undertake annual updating. If any links can be sent, yes, we can. That's not a problem. We can certainly put all the links, and your local hospital should be able to give you the links to the Gluco program, which has got all the training programs on there because that's available for free for the center. What else we got? Putting a new one. Haven't got a CAMS APX in use yet. Oh, where have I lost it? Other companies looking at lowering their targets. Yep, we were waiting for other companies to bring their licensing into play, and then we will use it. Patients are confident, is it easier to onboard? Yes, absolutely. And that is going to be one of the workforce strategies. People who already are on pumps are going to be easier to switch to a closed loop and easier for the workforce to begin with. Less training time. Updated DTN pump pathway that we can all follow rather than making our own. I don't know what a pump pathway is. If I'm very honest, there's only 2 steps.
Isn't it like the DTN best practice?
Oh yeah, that's out of date. That's out of date. I mean, basically, the pathway is very simple. It's a 2-step process, isn't it? So there's going to be a decision. What did we call it fully? Decision management tool, wasn't it? Decision
tool. Is that the one that we've been helping?
Yeah. So that will come out. That will give you very clear guidelines. That will help. That will be the pathway. Once the TA is formalized, is there a time by which the local ICB need to roll this out? Yes. That's always the clock starts ticking immediately. So and that will depend on how we roll it out. We've got a 5-year timeline where we have to finish it, not start it. Limitation to which systems we can use? Hopefully not. That's what we're working on. It's a very good question from NB23157. Yes, that is something we are keeping in mind because significant retinopathy, high drops, and what do we do? So bear with us. We are keeping an eye on that before we roll it out. That's going to be something that we do need to take advice from our specialist bodies. Becky, what do you think? Becky's here. We have got a specialist amongst us.
Oh, I wasn't expecting to go on. I am actually working with Emma Wilmot and Tom Crabtree to put together a pathway to look at retinopathy and just to give teams some advice and guidelines on what to do.
Well, so do let us know as well, because we need to sort of assess the impact on retinal screening services as we go with it, because we can't rule it out without them. I think we've answered everything more or less, haven't we? So we just take a break. How have we done? How have we done? We've done well.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. We're wrapped up then.
The speed round.
Did you? Oh, you've answered where we can find academy training, haven't you? I was going to do that.
On the Gluco.
Yeah.
Quite a good question. Yeah, good question. Will it be funded nationally or the local ICB? It will be a mixed model. We're coming with it, so don't worry. So it's going to be lots of costs are also sunk in baseline. I'm not going to go through complicated financial decisions, but work is on progress.
And I know we spoke about this last time because people were asking quite often, do they need to get the boxing gloves on and start fighting with their ICB to, get the funding? And you very clearly said that was not needed that you would get your boxing gloves on and fight on our behalf. So
I think it's a balance. I think we are in much tougher times than we were during the Libra times. I think you just need to look around the NHS where we are at. It's a bit of a balance as we go along. But leave it with us. We're having really good conversations at the present moment of time, how much we want to do in the first year, second year. There's an election in the middle of it. There's a lot of things to balance. How shall I put it? This is Sam. Question from Sam. Fuyla, this is probably more very much your nice. It's a territory which I've always had really good. It'd be interesting to hear your views in pedia, because if they're pump naive, would you put them straight on a loop, or would you go for a pump and then loop? How would you do it?
Certainly, I mean, we just go straight for a looped pump. There's not a massive amount of benefit to going onto a standard pump. With the way that we tend to do it is get on a sensor first, and then the pump, and actually just learn how to use it as a hybrid closed loop system, because that's the reality of how you're going to be using it going forward. So we just tend to go straight for hybrid closed loop, rather than there being any sort of staged process, because we've not found that it's needed.
It's funny, I hear arguments for both, and I do. So if they're pump naive, sometimes they get on so much better with a loop because they're not tempted to override the bolus all the time and stuff. But yeah, and then other centres are always like, no, we definitely go for standard pump first, so they know what to do if it gets kicked out into manual mode, etc. So what do you advise?
I was going to say that I just don't think that if you're in closed loop and your closed loop is working, then the amount of time that you spend out of closed loop is so small that the fact is that it's a bit like when they are on a pump and they suddenly have to go back to pens. If you've been on a pump for 5 years, to suddenly go back onto pens, it's like a massive learning curve, isn't it? And I just don't think, if it doesn't matter whether you've spent 4 days on a pump with no loop, if you're 3 years down the line, you're not going to remember those 4 days that you spend out of a loop, are you? So for me, we have this conversation, I think, with some of the companies, and they say, oh, normally we'll do this first, and then a couple of days later we put them on the pump or the sensor or whatever. And to me, I just think, well, if you're going to do it, just do it, because I don't think they're going to remember how to manage it out of a loop.
So can I ask, in that case, because Helen asked a really nice question, which is, how long would you expect for a new HCL pump user to really understand benefit from it? And Fuyla, in your world, do you guys see that? Is it related to the parental side of things or not?
I think people experience the benefits within days, really. The biggest thing from a children, young people's families' point of view is that overnight, that it just obviously, as long as you've got your settings reasonably right, which obviously we work quite hard to make sure that's the case. Within a few days, we have families saying, God, it's the first time we've been able to sleep through the night without being disturbed. And, children, young people, they're waking up in Target for the first time in years. So I think that change is noticed within days, within the first week or two. People will notice that change. And then, and again, there's huge benefits during the day. So we tend to get that really positive feedback very early, is what I would say.
And do you find that it's quite, I don't know what the right words to use, I was going to say DSN support heavy when they first go on? As an adult DSN, I definitely think when you start someone on a pump, they're ringing all the time with, okay, what's this, what's that? Do you find that the same in pediatrics, or?
Yeah, I mean, very, very much so. And, the nurses in my department at Alderhay do an absolutely amazing job. But you're absolutely right. It is very time consuming at the beginning. But I guess our aim is to, try and get a really good pump start, get all of that education delivered, so that then families, young people, they're confident in managing their diabetes going forward. So it's certainly worth the input, I think, early on. The other big thing from a pediatric point of view is, of course, training for the wider family, schools training, particularly for the little ones, and at least awareness training for the older ones, and so on. So it certainly is time consuming, but I think we absolutely see the benefits. And hopefully, if we've done a good job at the beginning and in those early days of training, actually what you then find is there's a lot less to do, as time goes on, and
Definitely.
I think the point of raising it is just that, you see on social media a lot of the people are saying, it was really easy. I just need this and I just need that. And I'm like, actually, for DSNs, it's not that easy. It's a lot of labour intensive work at the start for us, which is why we can't just put 65,000 people on a hybrid closed loop tomorrow, because we just don't have the staff all the time. So.
Let me just actually take some of the questions because they relate to that. So slightly digressing, can dialysis patients have HCl? I'm not sure of the answer of that. There's lots of debate about the accuracy of CGMs in dialysis patients. So I'm not quite sure they're licensed to be used, and I would be slightly skeptical of its benefit in that population, but I'm happy to be corrected on that one. So we shall see. I'll find out, however, the answer for that. Then I've got big risk with the non-stratified approach. Right, non-stratified approach. Let me make a point of that. I did a stratified approach in 2018. It was called the Libra one, right? It was as if I had killed somebody's child. I remember those days. I kept on saying to people, you can either follow me and, it's not based on science, but we have to start somewhere. But I was told that it was all very wrong. So this time I'm going to give it a little bit of a different style. We're going to say, here are some ideas. I've said, I think children should come first. I think women trying for pregnancy should come then, or thereabouts in parallel. The rest, I want to see what local teams do. You're all clinicians. You're all quite senior in your jobs. You know your local population. And tell me what you want. I'd be quite intrigued to see how it all works out. In my mind, I think there is a group which I would like to go through, and that's for Portsmouth. We are talking to our teams. I'm not sure I want to impose that on everybody, because your local dynamics, politics, deprivation will be different. So I think overarching, I think there are three groups which come naturally. One is children, because you're changing the dynamics for them for the rest of their lives. Women trying for pregnancy, because you've got two human beings in play, and that needs to be done. People on pumps, that's not science. That's mostly based on trying to give your workforce a bit of breathing time, because they're easier to switch. And after that, it's up to you how you want to do it. So that's my view. Funded nationally, will there be ring fence money for pediatrics coming to ICBs? Why just pediatrics? How rude, right? For everybody. So we shall see how it all plays out. We're working to the finances at the present moment. So we shall see how that works out. Can this please be rolled us to children of yesteryear, which I presume means adults? I think it depends on the workforce, if I'm very honest. We have got a lot of catch up to do. So I would love to, if I could, but this is not Libra, where you can just give an online forum.
Yeah, it's really not, is it? I mean, part of, I think why HCPs might be asking if it's going to be an NHS England kind of overarching, this is the priority groups, is because we get, and there was at the weekend, quite a lot of abuse aimed at diabetes.
Everybody wants to put it on, so Partha said it, don't blame me. I get it. I've done this dance before.
But it's just, when you've got angry people in front of you, it feels a bit safer, or to say, well, actually, this is what NHS would have advised us. Not your fault, completely. But
no. I fully appreciate that. So I think leave it with us. We are thinking along those lines. I think there is one risk about going into, if I flip it around, there is one risk of giving local systems the chance to make their own things. You will introduce variation when you do that, because every system will do it slightly differently. So we are discussing, we would like to do it in a structured way. We also feel that we don't want to deprive, the people who need it the most. And I get it when people come to me, and I've had that on social media, saying, I feel left out. I've had people say, I just feel like people have forgotten about me. I've got an HbA1c of 6.8. I've worked so hard to 6.8, and it feels I've been punished for doing so well in my life. And I have nothing but empathy for that view. And if I could have got it for everybody, I would have got it for everybody, guys. But if you give me a couple more years and stuff, I'm sure we'll get it for everybody. So I can only apologize for getting to this point. But if it was easy to get it out to people, then the rest of the world would be doing it. And they're not. And this is as wide as we can go at the present moment. We also have to realize there is money to pay, NHS, everything, all of that. So bear with us. We'll get there on that one.
Can I just jump in really quickly? Just with what you said there, Partha. I mean, I think it's important that we recognise that this is an absolutely incredible achievement to get it to the point that it's at, and very much thanks to your amazing leadership on this. And I appreciate, we want everything right now, don't we? But to get it to this point, I think is just incredible. And obviously there is more to do, and we will work very hard to move things to the point where we want them to get to. But I think as far as the world of type 1 diabetes goes, this is just amazing where we're at now. And of course, we've got the challenge of rolling it out, but that's a very happy challenge to have, I think.
Yeah, no, and I get it. You know, James basically has responded saying it's interesting on stratification, and you know, everybody tried a good guidance. James, you got my email. If you got some bright ideas, please drop it in an email. I'm all ears to hear from everybody. So please, partha.car@nhs.net. If you got some ideas, so either it's going to be, you know, Partha's guidelines, or you can give your views, which I'm very happy to take on board. So there's my offer to you. Will Libra work with Omnipod 5 in the future? Let's see. That will all come out. The companies will declare their hands as they go along. One question for you, Fuyla. Julie Grant. In the pediatric setting, do you think HCL will be rolled out to teenagers the next couple of years before they get to the adults?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think in pediatrics, I think we'll do our very best to roll out as quickly as we can. And I think that certainly, you know, we're very mindful of the teenagers that we look after, and you know, that we're in a relatively luxurious position in paediatrics in terms of funding compared to adult services. So I think that's something that teams will be very mindful of just ensuring that we can get young people switched over before they move to adult services. I think also because we've got such high numbers on pumps and continuous glucose monitoring already, we'll probably find that there'll be quite a lot of young people that we can switch relatively easily to flip them from pump and CGM to hybrid closed loop. And, you know, you'll probably find many services are doing that as group sessions, and, you know, getting young people moved over fairly quickly. But I think that's a very good point for us to be mindful of that older age group while they're in paediatrics.
Yep. What is Ish says, it's an amazing achievement. Concern would be the burden on workforce that is already under pressure. And I agree. And I think that's the point I'm making about priorities and how we want to do it. So you have then one hand patients understandably living with type 1 diabetes. I don't live it. Fuyla doesn't live it. So we get it, right? About it's all very well to say, why not children first? But for the person sitting there with the hypos, it is frustrating, and I get it. But the balance also is with Beth and Amanda and Vicky and, you know, Tamsin all having to deliver it. And the last thing I want is for them to get burnt out and go home, in which case nobody can get it. So to Ish's point, you're absolutely right. And that's why we want to do it in a slow way. And we're working up some plans about what we do to support teams. Hopefully some sort of funding to help in readiness or development of teams, which includes days to train, learn, you know, go out. We've got some plans. Don't worry. You know, it's as I said, it's an exciting space. Nobody's done it before. There isn't a blueprint for us to follow, right? We are the blueprint. So that's what, and you know, Fuyla and me, we talk about all the time how we balance teams and their needs and that sort of stuff. And we'll be asking our DSN Forum colleagues to join us on a board and advise us about the pressures nurses are under and what we can do to help. So yeah, we understand and fully appreciate. So yeah, that's where we are with that one.
Yeah, I think that was like something you said it the weekend, and I've said it before, is like a lot of the times DSN's like, well, what do you want us to stop doing in order to put everyone on a hybrid closed loop? Because we're going to, and like we went to the menopause workshop last week, and now they want DSN sitting in the gynae clinics to help that. And you're just like, how much more can DSNs take on? Because we do a huge amount, and it affects everything, doesn't it? So we end up going a DSN sat in every type of clinic. And you're just like, we can't take on much more. So yeah. Okay.
Good question from George. Patient is an unlicensed HCL system in pregnancy, want to switch to licensed system, will be able to switch from the middle of the warranty. It's a brilliant question. We are going to take that to the contract negotiation with companies, and we are fully aware of that. If they're in the middle of the warranty and they need to move to a licensed pump, what do we do? So that is very much top of the radar right now. So leave that with us. We hopefully will have masters on it, and we'll be talking to companies about it as well. Are the companies promoting any info on this and reaching patients prior to any decisions from this forum? We're not making any decisions on this forum. We're chatting, Raghu, trust me. I mean,
interesting that Diabetes UK have released a website with some frequently asked questions on there. So if you do have patients asking lots of questions about can I have a hybrid closed loop, they have got a website and you can direct patients to with some comms on it, which does help slow down the traffic of I want it now kind of thing.
My son is on a pump already. Could I offer to fund the center for HCL until he's offered it? 100%. Why not? No reason not to. Some HCPs are still not getting a message and saying the guidance is out, so it's available. I don't know whether that's the other way around you went it, but if they're saying it's available, they should give it to you. Brilliant. Get it from them if they're saying it's available. What else? Have we missed anything? Questions about Ireland, slightly outside my ambit. So the way we work, we do work with all the 4 countries and we let them know our views and our plans and stuff. So, but we can't answer on their behalf, if I'm afraid. So what is this? Elaine, when you say pre-considered including pregnant, in a team that is currently getting up to speed, I'm anxious about moving the pregnant ladies through. What do you think the future of the pumps will be around the numbers to use in pregnancy? So if you look at estimates, there's roughly about 1,100, 1,200 pregnancies in type 1 diabetes throughout the year. So that's and I may or may not be right on that, but I don't think it's very far off from that. And people trying for pregnancy, you double the number. So that's across the country. So that's where we are with that. So that's all good. So we have answered, I think, all the questions.
What's happening with, have you seen the Saving Babies Lives document that came out? And it's saying that they need now anyone dealing with pregnant women to have CGM training every year.
Yes.
Are you aware of that? And like they want consultants and DSMs, etc., to all have CGM training.
Yeah.
And I think it's causing a stir amongst all the teams thinking, right, how do we get proof of doing all that?
So I think that's where it goes back again to the academy, really, and access
so that's enough.
program. That's it. That's enough. That's more than enough, to be honest. And Stephanie said
that is quite full on.
It is full on.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I mean, the other things, what I suggested, there are some really good programs being rolled out by some of the companies out there. I think that's also fine. I'm quite comfortable with this. So do you think this rollout will help with greater acceptability of the open source HCL systems as well? So I presume you mean DIY? If you do mean DIY, I think it's the other way around. It's because of the presence of DIY and open source. That's why all companies have really upped their game and got us to where we are. So I those of you will know from the past, I always have huge respect. And, we got Dana across from Australia to come and talk to us about it in the Rise of the Machines program that we did a fair few years ago. And that was the start of closed loop. So I have nothing but respect for what you guys do. So I think it has changed the dialogue for sure, and the discussion about what open loops have achieved. And so that's fabulous, I think. So no, I have nothing but admiration for that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we've covered all the questions. So DSN team, do you have any questions for me or Fuyla in your bank? Or I can throw some things in.
I was going to ask about procurement. We had a lot of questions last week about that, didn't we? Is it going to be the same? Are we going to still be filling out 20 pages of paperwork for each person? Is it going to be centrally ordered, all that kind of stuff?
No. I think the idea is to make this as simple as possible for all concerned. I think we have learned a lot from the Libra work. A lot of people will not have been involved in the pregnancy work because for that, the strategy was very different. So we have tried different strategies, and the reason for trying the different strategies has all been a lead up to this. This is the holy grail, right? So we need to get this right, and we're going to put into operation all of things that we have learned and see how it all plays out. So I would say that, watch this space. We are working at the moment and seeing how things are. Got a question here. Are all the pumps going to cost the same? We can't say that because of commercial confidence, but we are working to a place that it's cost effective for the NHS. So as I said, it's all very good. It's all very good. It's all positive. Christmas is coming, What can I say?
Exactly. There we go. So yeah, have you got anything, Jonathan?
Yeah, can I ask Fuyla? So obviously you have a much greater proportion of your young people and children on pumps. So what would be sort of like your top tips, I would say, for the adult services, kind of trying to even get to that level? We're aiming for higher than that, aren't we? But, in these first few years, what would your top tips be really for adult services?
Yeah, I guess I suppose it's been a little bit different for paediatrics in the sense that it's probably happened a little bit more organically, more slowly over time, where we've gained skills and experience and been able to get so many children and young people on pumps. But I guess going forwards, I'd probably say top tips are, I think it's really important that healthcare professionals, that the whole team are on board with the philosophy of pumps, and really recognize it as the way forward for type 1 diabetes care. I think in sometimes you get that sense of, oh, it's this totally separate thing, it's a separate service, but really I think the ethos needs to change. If you're in type 1 care, then you need to be skilled up and you need to know about technology and understand about technology and get that ethos right within the team. So I think getting the ethos right, getting the training right, so everybody's skilled up. And what I'd probably say is, I think you probably do need to start off slow, start off slowly getting people on pumps, build your confidence as a team. And then very quickly you'll find that there's ways to progress quite quickly. So, for example, doing group starts, putting on group education sessions, familiarise yourself with the technology that you're using so that you can provide that support for for the patients that you're looking after. So I think they're sort of probably my top tips. But I suspect once centres get going and they're building their expertise, they'll find that actually the services just go from strength to strength. I think the other thing that can be really important is being able to support peer support for people living with diabetes as well. I think that can be something that's really important, and you'll often find that there's a lot of help and that sort of advice and troubleshooting that people can find from being part of a peer support group as well. So I think if there's any opportunity to support that, I'd recommend that too.
Yeah, that was interesting actually. It was brought up at the weekend, but are we going, are there any plans at NHS England to bring on expert peer support people living with type 1 already to support people with hybrid closed loop? And I'm always I was in a discussion thing, I'm always a little bit wary because they don't know the background of that, especially in adults, because there's, sometimes they've got, kidney disease and all the other kind of things to think about. And it's not just as simple as what it looks like on the kind of tin, I suppose. So I know we talked a bit about it last week, Partha. You've got some plans, maybe, haven't you, to involve that kind of peer support groups and things with this? Oh,
sorry. Before going on to that, two things to say. I think pediatrics, due to many reasons, smaller numbers, BP best practice tariff, all of that. But you can't deny one thing, that they have been much more ahead of the curve, right? In taking technology on. Technology has always been, and I know it, I've lived it, right? I had zero trouble trying to get pediatrics to take on CGM or Libra. They just saw it as part of their job. And it's well documented throughout history. Sometime I'll write a book about it, how I had to fight with clinical colleagues to make them understand why this needs to happen. And I think that's one thing I wanted to leave for everybody. You need to, with this one, please, let's not do the same mistake again. Be a guide, not a gatekeeper. It's not your job to tell people you can't get it. Because if you do that, you really annoy me. And when you annoy me, things just get a little bit unsavory. Let's not do that, because all of you know me and I'm too old now to do any niceties. And frankly, I will do anything needed for the people with type 1 to get what they need. And so I think with the adult closed loops, I would like you to also, I'm very mindful of the pressures on healthcare professionals, which is why I'm going to do it very gently, slowly, year 1, year 2. But I think there is a bit about that whole bit about acknowledging that technology now is the bread and butter standard type 1 diabetes care, right? That is it. So there is that bit which I wanted to put across very clearly, that everybody needs to shape up. So all the questions about where is the criteria, where is this, where is that, that's okay, that will come. Don't worry about it. I think what I would like you to do is have a look at your list and tell you how many people you need to be put on. What is your plan? Forget about the money. Do you have a plan for the next 5 years in your center as to how you're going to do? Have you developed a letter? Have you sent it to your local type 1 patients? Have you made them ready that they may not get it straight away? What have you done locally? So if you're saying that Partha is going to do a template of a letter, which I'm going to send out to everybody, well, we're all clinicians in our own region. So I think that's very important to go. And I think that's one thing I would say. Now, I think I would also take upon what Ollie has said. So Ollie makes a very good point. What about me? I'm burnt out on the psychological thing. You're absolutely right. If you come to clinic, this is where we as clinicians have a role. I'm not going to turn around to you, Ollie, and say that, you know what, tough, sit tight. I'm going to try and make the case for you. I'm going to try and do an individual funding request for you. I'm going to try my best to get you what I can. And that's the way we should work. So I think that's my view to everybody. There are laws, there are guidelines, there are things, and then there's the person in front. So that's my philosophy. It's held me really well. And if you do that, you'll be fine. Is there a process to follow to fund an insulin pump for a child not wanting to wait on funding from the NHS? Fuyla.
Sorry, I've not seen the question. Is it just a process to follow?
I think they've tried previously to ask if they can buy an insulin pump for their child, but they were told it was not possible. They're looking to understand why it was not possible to purchase a private insulin pump and then have care from the NHS because they don't want to wait.
The only thing I would say is I wouldn't expect, if it's a child in a paediatric diabetes service, I wouldn't expect that there would be an issue with obtaining the pump. So it probably just needs a bit of understanding as to what's going on. I expect if there is an issue with the pump service, it will be around staffing. So it will be education and training. So, it'll be healthcare professional time that's probably the issue rather than the purchasing of the pump. So I wonder if that's potentially what's going on there rather than it being purchasing the pump, because obviously we would always expect that there needs to be education and training for the family and the young person, and potentially schools training as well. So I don't think that there's an issue necessarily with purchasing the pump, but I suspect that's not the crux of the problem. I would hope that that's not happening anywhere, but we know that obviously that there's always times when there might be a staffing issue in a particular centre, and perhaps things aren't rolling out quite as quickly as the families would want, and certainly probably as the team would want as well. But it might just be worth picking up a conversation with the team again, just to understand exactly what the issue might be there.
And just to answer Carol Hurst's point, and it's a very good question. I know we can't ask for an HCL yet in clinic. What should we as patients be asking our clinicians? So I think the question is, you ask, what is the timeline? What was the realistic timeline to where I can get there? This is what I want. Do I fit in? Where do I fit in? And I think it's quite important to have those conversations, which I think is quite important. And I think there is a mutual respect that exists for the vast majority of people living with type 1 diabetes and clinicians. So I think from my point of view, and I will say this again, I'm not giving anybody a lecture from sitting in some office as a national role. I do a full-time job. I look after type 1 diabetes patients every day. I personally believe that, in my experience, people with type 1 and their carers respond more to you being honest and saying that I can't do it right now, but I'll try and get to you in 2-3 years' time. And that's the reality. They'll respect you more rather than saying, well, the system doesn't allow you, or actually, no, we can't have this conversation. So that's what I would encourage everybody to do. And I know some of you will go like, that just never happens. My inbox is full of emails where it does happen. And I think that would be my request in these webinars for everybody to consider that sort of thing. Martin, just to sort of say, Martin's put a nice comment there about, with John Pemberton has given about links about how to make the NHS dream a reality. So you could have a look at it if it's there. And John Pemberton gives ideas about how can you go and lobby your case with your clinician. But when you do the lobbying, remember, clinicians also have to balance out lobbying from everybody else. So that will be my view as well. So yeah, look at that. We are nearly run through time, haven't we? So yes.
We have. There are all questions coming in now. Well, yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for both coming. That was really, really helpful. No open questions, good. Oh, there we go.
No, just thank you.
Yeah, we have recorded it, so we will be able to share this, and people will be able to watch it again if they wish to.
I just wanted to, before we got the companies back in for any final words they wanted to say, can I also acknowledge what I haven't acknowledged is Fuyla. So Fuyla is a bit completely antithesis of me. So me, I'm like super showboating. It's me, red glasses. I'm here. You know, everybody knows what I've done. And if you didn't know about it, you have to hear about it because it's so much wide open. Fuyla is the lead for all children and young people in type 1 diabetes. Has been doing some amazing work since he's joined. So I just wanted you all to recognize I am very grateful for all the love and kindness I get from so many parents and stuff, but just to acknowledge what Fuyla has done as well, and an amazing ally in this journey for me. So yeah, just sort of put it out there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fuyla. We've been waiting to meet you for so long, haven't we? So we were Partha was like, should we ask Fuyla? We were like, yeah.
So thank you very much, Partha. You're far too kind about me, as always. But also, I'm a bit starstruck being on this as well. So thank you very much for the invite.
Bless you. Cool. Fiona, Sam, and Karen, do you want to come back and say anything? All of you in tandem. Do you want to go first, Sam? Or...
Well, thanks, Beth. I thought it was so interesting this last hour, and the insights and the tips and tricks of all about that practical implementation for this technology. So just from an industry perspective, we want to do everything we can to support and educate, and yeah, just can't wait to see it get going. Really exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, just echoing what Sam said, really. It's just a really, really exciting time in diabetes. The technology's sort of just flown from what it was 5 or 6 years ago. So just looking forward to helping you guys implement sort of this new era that we're all about.
Yeah, I was going to say, me and Tamsin and Partha, but we need you guys. So yeah, make sure you are prepared. Fiona?
Yes, and I think, just to echo what Sam and Karen have said, one of the really exciting things about this is how much we can work collaboratively with the NHS to make sure that we can support with that training, that education for yourselves and for your patients. And I know that we're very much gearing up to be able to support you in that way. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Bring it on then. Have you got anything else to say, Partha, before we go?
No, I just wanted to say that from my point of view, best of luck to all the clinicians, those who are people with type 1. It's coming. It will come to you. And also an offer to anybody who wants to organize. I am happy to go to any forum, anywhere, right? And answer any questions. Angry, happy, whatever. I'll take them all. So if anybody wants to organize anything, let me know. I'll come around and take your questions and your angst and all of that, and we'll go through it. Not a problem.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming, everybody. I hope everyone's had an interesting evening, got the answers that you needed. And yeah, we have recorded it, so they will be available as soon as we have some time to put them together. So thank you. See you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.